All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting to order. First, I would like to acknowledge that we have some Leadership Jackson people in the room. Thank you very much, Chris, for coming. We hope you find this enjoyment for you. Secondly, I would like to introduce to you, and it is my privilege to introduce to you the chaplain from Commerce. He is going to be doing our prayer today, as this week is Police Remembrance Week. And I have asked the chaplain to say the prayer that he actually said the other evening at the remembrance ceremony. This is Chaplain. Jeff Payne. I don't need the mic, folks. I got a big mouth. I'm retired military, so and I keep telling you, I promise not to turn this into a sermon. But as Mayor indicated, we did do a wonderful service on Tuesday at the historic courthouse. Judge Andy Garrison coordinated the service. So he asked me to do the invocation and closing prayer. Mayor Debbie came up to me with Griffin and Grinning in the foyer afterwards and said, "Hey, you mind coming and doing this for the mayor's council for the meeting?" I said, "I'm good." Hey, no problem. Anytime I get an audience, do some spiritual feeding, I'm more than welcome. And so, for National Police Officer Week, what a better time to address this wonderful council and these folks that are taking up their time and down so, what struck me was the sixth chapter of the prophet Isaiah's eighth verse. The Lord speaks to Isaiah. Then I heard a voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send? Who will go for us?" Isaiah responds, "Here I am, send me." So it struck me. I should have had a VA. Every time our men and women officers take that oath of office. Folks, what they're saying is, send me. I'll be the one to stand in harm's way 24/7, 365, protecting our community. Send me. So, folks, this is what pray with me. Almighty God, we give you our thanks, we give you our praise for this day and one more opportunity to serve you. May we do so with joy and gratitude in our hearts, knowing that you indeed walk with us. And so, Lord, on this day, we lift up our prayers for the faithful women and men of our law enforcement agencies. So we ask that you hear our prayer for these men and women who have lost their lives in the line of duty, and to continue to rest in your heavenly eternal peace. Comfort their grieving families, remember them in your mercy, strengthen them with your patience, soothe them with the promise of your goodness. Lord, let your presence shine on them and give them peace. And Lord, as we continue to recognize our police officers during National Police Week, may these women and men be guided by your providence. Give to each officer the wisdom and strength to know your will and carry it out. May they carry with them their call to serve the people as protectors of truth and justice. Lord, defend and protect each of them as they protect and defend the citizens of our community. May we all rest easy knowing they stand in harm's way on our behalf of our safety and our comfort. Lord, you have given us our wonderful communities as our heritage. And we always remember your generosity and must encourage to carry out your will. Save us from violence, disagreement, and confusion, from pride and arrogance, from every evil way. Make us all a united people. Defend our liberties and give those whom we have entrusted with the authority of government, the rule of law, the spirit of wisdom, and the pursuit of justice and peace in our land. Almighty God, may your holy and life-giving spirit within every human heart, that the walls which divide us may come down, suspicions disappear, hatred come to an end. Protect us from faithless fears and worldly anxieties. Grant that no clouds in this mortal life may hide us from your light of your immortal love. Lord, we ask for your blessings on this meeting of the mayor and council of the city of Houston. May it be fruitful, respectful of one another, and guided by your love. In your heavenly name we pray. And all God's children say, Amen. Friends, mayor and council, friends of this community, the Lord be with you. Thank you, Chaplain. It was beautiful.
and also with you. Chief, special thank you to you this week and your team. Please pass that on to them. And with that, since this is a public hearing, oh, I'm sorry. Let's stop. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And with that, I will ask for agenda approval. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Scott. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ace. All in favor, raise your hand, please. Great, thank you. Before I turn this over to Ab, since this is a public hearing, I would just like to say that Tina is stuck in traffic. She is diligently trying to get here. JJ is out of town for a wedding, and he will not be in attendance today. Ab?
Thank you. All right, a public hearing. I'm going to call three of these at one time. You'll find three items on your public hearing agenda. Public hearing has been called on item 1, text amendment TA-2026-01, text amendment amending the subdivision and land development ordinance, Article 6, access and design requirements for roads, Section 620, residential driveways, to amend driveway requirements and for other purposes, as well as number 2, text amendment TA-2026-02, text amendment amending the signs and advertising devices ordinance, changing Section 43-109 lighting restrictions and for other purposes, and number 3, text amendment TA-2026-04, text amendment amending the signs and advertising devices ordinance, changing Section 43-133C, application requirements and for other purposes, and I hereby open the public hearing. Tiffany, could you confirm that public notice has been given? All right, I'm going to give the report because Rich Atkinson is out of town and unable to join us today. After that, we'll allow speakers to speak as to this, whether you're for it, against it, or just want to be heard. I'll ask for a show of hands and call you up in the event that we have people that want to speak. All right, the report I'm giving has been provided to me by Rich. This was taken through planning and zoning. Full hearing there. It comes to you with a unanimous recommendation of approval of all three. The first one, TA-2026-01, Rich says that what this amendment does is adds a new minimum driveway length requirement. Residential driveways must be at least 23 feet from the back of the sidewalk or from the right-of-way where no sidewalk exists. He says this change was needed to ensure vehicles do not block sidewalks or extend into the street, to improve pedestrian safety and ADA accessibility, to create consistent standards across subdivisions, and to reduce conflicts with emergency vehicles, garbage trucks, and school buses. Number 2, he says what this amendment does is it fully replaces the lighting section of the sign ordinance. Make sure. Yes. He says key updates include it clarifies where illuminated signs are allowed in C1, C2, and M1. It defines permitted illumination types, internal, external, and digital. It establishes brightness limits, glare control, shielding, and hours of illumination. It provides construction standards for internally and externally lit signs, and it lists prohibited lighting types, which are flashing, strobe, emergency style, or exposed neon. This change was needed to modernize outdated lighting regulations, to provide clear enforceable standards for staff and applicants, to protect nearby residential areas from glare and excessive brightness, to support commercial development with predictable modern sign rules, and to reduce nuisance lighting and improve nighttime safety. The next one is the 2026-04. He says that this amendment replaces the sign permit application requirements with a clearer, more complete list. Required items now include contact information for sign owner, installer, property owner, and applicant, property owner signature granting permission, fees per the adopted fee schedule, parcel number, address, sign type, dimensions, and number of faces, placement location shown on a facade sketch or site plan. He says this change was needed to ensure applicants submit all required information up front, to reduce incomplete applications and administrative delays, to improve consistency and accuracy in permit review, to clarify fee requirements and documentation expectations, and to help maintain accurate records of sign ownership and placement. All right, does anyone wish to speak as to any of these three or all of them? If so, please raise your hand. All right, do y'all have any questions for me or anyone?
I have some comments. Maybe we can just get clarification. So on section 1, it talks about the 23 feet minimum length. I'm just concerned. I'd like to see it 25, and my reason for 25 is I look at a pickup truck, full-size pickup truck with a trailer hitch, and that's going to bring you right at 23 feet. And that leaves no room to walk around if you're parked up against a garage door. And I think the extra 2 feet, which is within the established national standard that that attached to this, I think that would be ideal. That would be one consideration. It's not a stop thing for me, but I would like to see it considered. The other thing is I didn't see a width requirement in the packet. There's some in the supporting document, but there's none in the ordinance. And I didn't know if that was on purpose or if it's just an omission.
Yes. So. All right. As to your first question, I'm going to read to you an email from Rich. He says that he thinks that 25 feet is too much. He says, I don't want to add unnecessary impervious surface to any development if possible. Additionally, there are costs associated to larger driveways above and beyond just the driveway itself. It can impact house placement, density, lot size, etc. I believe the proposed amendment is the fairest approach for the city, the homeowner, and the builder/developer. As always, Mayor and Council can adopt the practices and standards they see fit to best accommodate the residents of Houston. I think this is a debate worth having amongst fellow council members, but in my professional opinion, the standards should be laid out as proposed. As to the width, I cannot answer that. As you and I discussed earlier this week, I did not present these. These are things done by our planner, in his planning opinion. I will say that now we're not going to vote now. Obviously, we'll do that. We'll have it in the work session. In the regular meeting, you can take a vote. One option is to table if you want further clarity. I do not want to attempt to provide clarity where I do not have a clear response. As to width, my assumption, but is purely an assumption and may be wrong, is that this is not a complete overhauling of driveways. It's simply adding to the length. The width may be addressed in other parts of the ordinance, but I do not have the full subdivision and land development ordinance in front of me, and I just cannot address that. I also have no idea as to what would be recommended as to width. So, okay, all right, yeah. So, yeah.
Not in the ordinance.
Yeah. Well, this is simply an amendment of a part of an ordinance. It's not a completely new ordinance. But Ace, I want to be very clear when I say that, to the extent you have questions and concerns, tabling is an option. I'm not aware that this is an urgent matter that Rich feels like is an emergency that must be passed tonight or we're going to be in serious difficulty. All right, any other questions? All right, then I'll close the public hearing, and that will conclude our public hearing agenda.
Thank you, Ab. We will go ahead and go to the work session agenda. I will go ahead and call that to order. This also needs agenda approval. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Scott. Maria will second. All in favor, raise your hand, please. Great, thank you all. The Houston Women's Civic Club presenting the scholarship program awardees tonight. Unfortunately, the both awardees had senior dinners, senior events, and I don't know that this is where they wanted to be over those. So, they are not going to be here tonight. But we would like to thank them. We'd like to thank the Women's Civic Club to have given those scholarships out. They were each $1,000, and we wish both recipients the very best as they move forward in college. All right. We'll move on to new business. Our auditor, Rachel, is out ill, and so therefore she will not be presenting the results, but we have Tiffany to present those. So Tiffany, I'll turn that item over to you, please.
Thank you. As Mayor said, Rachel is out tonight, so she did send me a summary to read to y'all. Wilson Lewis Attestation Services, formerly Alexander Almond and Baines, has completed the annual audit for the City of Houston. Rachel Miller is the engagement partner overseeing the audit. The annual audit resulted in a clean, unmodified opinion of the financial statements. The city had another year of tremendous growth, which led to total government-wide assets of $69 million. This is a $15 million increase over 2024, which is a 25% change. The largest portion of assets are capital assets, which include buildings, land, and infrastructure. Total liabilities for the city remain minimal at roughly $5.2 million, which is a slight decrease of roughly 2% from 2024. Total government-wide revenues were roughly $21 million. There is a 2% decrease from 2024 in total revenues. Revenue growth areas are in taxes and interest income. The expenditures were right under $8 million for the city. The most significant spending function is the water and sewer department, followed by public safety. Total expenditures increased by 27% from 2024. Ultimately, the city added nearly $13 million to reserves. That is to assist in providing for greater infrastructure assets and to meet the demands of the growing local population. The city was in budget for all government functions except for judicial bracket. This area experienced more demand than anticipated. Overall, the city's general fund expenditures resulted in nearly $1.9 million less than budgeted. This is wonderful, quote unquote.
That is extremely great.
She said, "We cannot thank Tiffany enough for being our liaison for the audit and the dedication to her duties to provide great financial reporting for the city. We are also very appreciative to Jennifer and the remaining staff members for their efforts in the audit process as well." And she is working on getting our clean copies of our financial statements that we will hand out later, as well as put on the website.
Now that's how you run a city.
And I will say, if y'all have any questions, don't know that I can answer them, but I can take them down and ask her and get back to you.
Council, any questions? Great, thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you, Tiffany.
All right, item number 2. I'm very, very excited about this plan to be presented to you. It will be presented by Alex from Keckenwood. And again, this is our master transportation plan. Alex?
The PowerPoint. Testing 1, 2.
It works.
Yes. Well, thank you guys for having me this evening. I'm happy to be here and present on the inaugural Houston Master Transportation Plan. So my name is Alex Simmons. I'm a traffic engineering group leader at Keckenwood. I served as the deputy project manager on this.
And I know Clay Smith, our project manager, and Sung Park, our lead engineer, are sad they couldn't be here tonight, but happy to be here. Many of the guys on my team all live in this area. The mayor told me that I can't say Hushton's my home, regardless of what my address says. But it is great to kind of work in our backyard. We're scattered around Flowery Branch, Brazelton. So this is close to us. We come through here a lot, so we enjoyed this opportunity. Next slide. My MC here. All right, so quick agenda. So we want to talk about what our project focus was. We want to give you some results from our existing conditions, talk through our public outreach, our process there, highlight our project identification and prioritization process, hit on some policy and guidance recommendations, and then we'll kind of wrap up, and if there's questions, we'll address those as they come. So moving to project focus. So what was this? If you haven't heard of a master transportation plan, what was this for? So we wanted to conduct a comprehensive assessment to look at traffic operations, traffic safety. We wanted to look at the existing infrastructure in place citywide, and then we wanted to take a deep dive into the current policies and guidelines within the city. Again, looking at each of these components, trying to find improvements and ultimately move Hushton forward. And so again, we want to promote alternative travel modes. We want to improve connectivity. You'll see that weaved throughout the presentation. And then also reduce dependency on motor vehicles along the State Route 53 corridor. Okay. So existing conditions, we heard a lot about growth already tonight, but this was something that no matter the plan that we reviewed, we read that, no matter the peak period that we came and hung out in the city, it was very evident that there's a lot of growth within the city and in this region. And so there's a heavy reliance on motor vehicles. You'll see that right out the door on 53. With the region growing, you get more cut-through traffic and just general commuter traffic on the 53 corridor. So we see all that. Another thing that we noticed performing our existing conditions analysis was a lot of disconnected sidewalks, multi-use paths. You would have sidewalks for a short stint, and then there would be gaps present. PTV connectivity, that is a growing thing in this area, and so being able to have PTVs move efficiently and have connections throughout the city are important. One thing that kind of came up later on in the plan was just minimal awareness of transit in the area. So we had the meeting, we've talked about that, so talking more about transit that's in the area, making sure people are aware of that, and then looking at safety concerns. So near misses, we'll talk about that in a minute. Speeding concerns within the city, looking at key corridors where that comes up. Sight distance concerns in our review of driving the corridors throughout the city, trying to note where we see sight distance concerns. And then again, lack of the pedestrian and bike separation. So think of this as if you're walking along a roadway, how close are you to the traveling public? There's a comfort there as a pedestrian or a bicyclist and wanting to have that separation. So looking for those things in our existing conditions analysis. Right. So public outreach, I know we don't have a huge crowd, but Mayor, Council, I just want to say thank you for all that attended either one of our public outreach meetings, or if you went through the survey, you'll see on here that we had 600 responses, and the mayor has told me that that is common in the city of Hushton, but I will tell you that in the transportation world, you don't get 600 responses on a transportation survey. So I can't thank everyone enough for the feedback that we collected through the surveys and through the public meetings. All of that data was just extremely helpful as we put this plan together. So again, I think it was super helpful and successful in our public outreach. You know, I mentioned near miss on the last slide. You know, near miss data is something that I can't just come up with on my own. I rely heavily on the people that travel these streets, that travel through the city every day, that can come to me and say, hey, I almost got in a wreck the other day. That's not something that comes through the data. I can't see that crash record because the crash didn't happen, but it is a valid point and a data point that we can use to be proactive as we recommend improvements within the city. So again, thank you to all that participated in that. So project identification and prioritization. So going through, completing the existing conditions analysis, compiling all of the data through our public outreach process, we kind of huddled up in a room and really started the project identification process. So you'll see our target areas on the screen, active transportation and alternative modes, so think pedestrians, bicycles, PTVs, looking at operational improvements, safety improvements. And so we took all these target areas and we tried to create a weighting scenario. And so you'll see that on the right side of the screen there. So financial stewardship. So is this a quick fix? Is this going to be a cost-effective improvement? So looking at that. Mode choice. Is this something that prioritizes pedestrians, bicyclists? We call those vulnerable roadway users. Traffic safety. So will this improvement reduce crashes at this intersection along this roadway segment? Public input. I told you we got a lot of feedback, right? So we wanted that to come through into our ultimate selection of improvements. So we relied heavily on our public feedback that went into our weighting and ultimate prioritization of the projects. Community livability. We've heard a lot about the character of Houston. We wanted to take a careful look at the projects that we were recommending and not changing the character that is in Houston today. So keeping that top of mind. Traffic operations, again, thinking about capacity, thinking about traffic flow through the city. And then lastly, economic vitality. So maybe not necessarily to stimulate development growth, but to continue to look for connections, improve access to developments that are here today and that may one day come. And all of that boiled down to essentially 3 tiers. So you'll see on this slide. So tier 1, this is our short-term, high-priority projects. So these are projects that scored 21 to 25 points. So again, these are our top-ranking projects. If you can see the screens, I'll point out a couple here. So Peachtree Road traffic calming, this was something that came up through the public input. This is something that came up in our stakeholder meetings. So again, identifying a corridor with potential speeding concerns. So looking at projects to implement traffic calming measures and trying to further enforce the speed limits on that roadway and maintain travel speeds at the speed limit or lower. I'll point out the last one on this list, and that's the Peachtree Road at Deer Creek Trail intersection. So again, talking about some of the near-miss data, again, some of the public feedback that we received. This intersection coming off the side street was flagged multiple times for sight distance concerns and near-miss data. So again, trying to flag that intersection for potential improvements as well. Okay. So tier 2, so long-term, medium priority projects. Again, so this is a 17 to 20 point range. I'll actually highlight the middle section on this one. So you'll see 04 to 06. So these are 3 intersections along State Route 53. I think these intersections were flagged in a previous study as well. But again, these are 3 intersections that we think that may currently or in the near future be candidates for traffic signals. So again, prioritizing those, wanting to look at signal warrants. I know, as all of you are aware, coming off a side street on the State Route 53 is a daunting task. So looking at traffic signals to potentially help people get off side streets and enter or cross State Route 53. So a big focus there. And then lastly, our tier 3 list. So again, this is anything scoring 16 points or lower. These are, I would consider, more aspirational projects. So we'll talk about grant funding later. So these are projects that if you have a grant identified, or if there's funds where you're kind of in it for the long haul, it might be a 3 to 5 year range project or something like that. This is a good list for projects that you don't need tomorrow or next year. But again, these are more long-term projects. All right. So talking through some projects, we'll kind of switch gears a little bit, looking at policy and guidance recommendations. So one thing that we did was we took a look at the Unified Development Code, and for this presentation, we wanted to highlight the sidewalk and multi-use path connectivity. This is a big one that comes up in a lot of cities, and obviously Houston's no exception there. But as infill comes in, as development turns over and things like that, taking a look at sidewalk connections, looking at nearby points of interest or logical destinations, and really trying to push that really that cost sharing with developers to help fill in any missing gaps within your sidewalk and multi-use path connection. So again, a lot of work in the in this area and recommendations in the report. Wanted to highlight that one tonight. Sorry, one more on that one. Speed study. So we talked about speeding a minute ago. We did flag Peachtree Road and State Route 332. Again, just keeping an eye on those corridors, continuing to monitor traffic speeds within the city. And again, that goes back to some of those traffic calming improvements that we had on the Tier 1 and Tier 2 list. And then lastly, our transit service. So again, I mentioned this earlier. You know, I think for us, we saw a lot of feedback that people were just unaware, and they didn't know how it could help them. So continuing to keep that top of mind, looking for ways to potentially pilot using their vehicles or that service in and of itself to help the city with events and just moving people from point A to point B. And so with that, kind of next steps, right? So what do we do now, or what does the city do now? So as we kind of step away, what are the next steps? So I mentioned it a little bit that, you know, through the end of the report, we looked a lot at potential grant funding, programs, and ways to bring money into the city. Because, again, no matter what your revenue is, projects are expensive, right? This list is not something that you just go tomorrow and put out on the street. So trying to identify key grant funding and funding sources to start scheduling some of these projects. You know, one thing that I will say is not all grants are created equally. Grants can be a huge headache. So really taking the time to evaluate what projects make sense for grant funding and honestly just what grants make sense for the city. I get a lot of feedback from a lot of cities and counties that, you know, just talking through the headaches and how long it takes to go through those processes. So hopefully in some of those sections of the report can help provide some guidance through that area. And obviously, you know, we're always happy to help come back and talk through those more. With that, I'll turn it over for any questions or comments on the report itself.
I have a question. I'm not sure if you guys maybe sent this over in a different area, but for the Tier 1 projects, is there by any chance like an approximate cost of what that would look like?
I believe there is a cost in the appendix of the report.
Okay.
I don't have one printed in front of me,
No
but I believe that's in the appendix.
Okay.
And if it is not in there, we do have costs for those that can be provided.
Okay, cool. So I guess, do we have a frame of reference?
Aren't you giving us a valid copy of all this?
That is Joseph Boyd with GHMPO, to my knowledge.
Okay. Yes.
But I can make sure that we get those to you.
That'd be great.
I got a question. So in this, you spoke about near misses, and you called out Peachtree and Deer Creek. And when you looked at that, did you take into account the bullseye mirrors that are on that one, and also on White Trillium, which I refer to as Wildflower, and the effects on those near misses?
As far as like what is the effectiveness on the mirrors, or did we just take that into account?
Yeah, anything to on those. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're not opposed to the mirrors by any stretch. I was thinking that one was down, but it may be back up, to be honest with you. But I think what we were looking at were some supplemental improvements to go along with that, whether flashing signage or things like that to help motorists traveling along Peachtree Road to understand that cars are coming off the side street. So not necessarily to do away with that, but supplemental implementations to further provide a safer.
So can you dive a little bit deeper into the supplementals? Your thoughts about how those two particular intersections can be improved, or what?
Sure. I mean, I think one of them, there was a combination of potentially clearing vegetation to improve sight distance overall. from the side street itself. There are a couple of signs that we've talked through with our stakeholder group. So essentially what would happen is it would have a flashing beacon along 53, and it typically has a warning sign, not a regulatory sign, but a warning sign to alert oncoming traffic of side street traffic. And so that would be in place on top of the mirror. And again, the goal is to maintain traffic speed or traveling speeds to the speed limit and not in excess of it. So that was probably one of our, I guess, prioritized solutions for that. Again, you'll see in Tier 1 it's left as traffic calming or sight distance improvements. But that would probably be a top contender there.
First of all, thank you very much for your time. You started off on State Road 53 and spoke slightly about stoplights. And as you're well aware, we have zero control on 53. And over the years, we've been working with the DOT, and there is 3 requests for traffic lights on it right now that were all 3 turned down. So how can you help us get those traffic lights? One of the examples will be we've got 1,150 homes coming to a facility called Tribute, and they refused a traffic light there because there wasn't enough exposure. But when we get to 1,300 homes that are in Twin Lakes, plus the 1,150 that's going to be in Tribute, then we'll have enough exposure, but it's too late.
So when you say exposure, what do you mean by that? I apologize.
Right now there's about 7 or 8 homes coming out of the Tribute. It's a brand new facility. There's about 1,200 coming out of Twin Lakes. In about 2 years to 3 years, there will be 1,150 coming out of Tribute and 1,300 coming out of Twin Lakes.
So my general understanding of the current situation with signals along State Route 53 is that nothing was officially warranting a traffic signal, which is, again, through our stakeholder meetings and talking with GDOT. We did have a GDOT representative in those stakeholder meetings, but talking about evaluating the signal warrants. So again, looking at volume thresholds, looking at crash data to see if there are certain triggers that officially warrant a traffic signal. So again, that's what those, I think it was the Tier 2 list, looking at those and evaluating the signal warrants based on the traffic volumes, crash data.
I want to add one more thing to that.
I'm sorry, how far out do you look like Mr. Brown's saying? Because they're not here today, but Dave, what do you think, 3 to 5 years, right? To be completed?
Yeah, we'll start seeing congestion at Tribute in probably about 3 years. We've also, in that same facility, going to have a potential school and a potential fire department, all using that same exit.
So the traffic study for that development will likely evaluate a signal warrant based on the density of the development. So you can warrant a traffic signal on future development. That may not help you today, but in that case, you will look at the trips generated by the development. You will factor those out to the opening year of the development. If it's a phased development, you may have to break it into phases. But there are ways to look at a signal warrant for a future development so that it's online in time.
Okay, I guess I misunderstood you because you were saying that it's already a problem trying to get off of side streets onto 53, and we could use them today.
I would 100% stand by that we can all agree that accessing 53 from the side street is a daunting task. Unfortunately, there are warrant and thresholds in place, and as you all know, working coordination with GDOT, it is a task.
Yeah, we need all the help we can get there.
I do want to add something to that, though. We have talked to our GDOT rep extensively, Alex and I, and our stakeholders. And my impression, correct me if you think I've misunderstood or I'm wrong about this, they're very willing to help us with lights if we can also contribute some of the money.
Well, Tribute said they'd pay for it if it was warranted.
Yeah.
The full bill, and the DOT said it's not warranted.
I believe, based on this study and that GDOT's been in these meetings, they completely understand it better than they did when they first denied it, if you will, to
Okay.
be honest with you.
That'd be good.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
My next question is, back on 53, we currently have issues there, as you've already seen, and some of the bushes and stuff are on individuals' property. I think our city does a really great job of keeping the right-of-ways clean. And I know some of the bushes you're talking about on some of the people's property, so that's gonna be difficult for us to tell them to remove the bushes or clean them, because they're trying to hide the traffic versus, clean it up. But have you looked at or worked where you're looking at Peachtree with the Barrow County people on what's gonna be below the bridge and how that might impact 53 in the next 3 to 5 years?
We've talked with the extent of potential traffic that will come, but nothing more than that.
Okay.
I also would like to make a slight comment about that as well. When we were going through this traffic study, and just to refresh everybody's memory, this was we started this a year ago. And at the time, that property over there on Barrow County side was not sold. It is now sold. And, I'll just leave it at that.
Well,
for now.
and
That's a problem now.
yeah, and that's exactly the reason I bring it up is so many times when we plan things, even when we plan subdivisions and stuff, we don't look at tomorrow where there's open spots and what it could do to us. And there's a lot of open land on the other side of the river that's not part of us that won't be open for long.
Well, Chief wants to close the road. You remember that was your recommendation? Close it at the bridge. Yeah. It's something definitely, Dave, that I will work with Barrow County on,
Okay, thank you.
100%.
Thank you.
I have two more questions. In your analysis, did you consider within the city limits, if we were to reduce the speed limit to the edge of our city limits down 53, if that would be something worthwhile investigating, and would it be to the benefit of safety?
So GDOT is currently, have they provided results?
They have not. So
Okay.
if you recall, a year ago, I asked for another traffic study. It was finally completed 2 months ago, would you say? My GDOT rep, our GDOT rep has stated to me and to the stakeholders that it was founded that they should reduce the speed, but they would give me the final report, which I have not received yet. So,
And then my last one is, in your assessment, did you take into account the 3 new public schools that are not in the city limit, but that'll probably be impacted at Jackson Trail and 53?
Yes, sir.
we did.
Okay.
We did everything.
There are improvements identified for that key intersection. So we were aware of that. We did account for that as we went through projects and the prioritization process, sorry. I will tell you that, just kind of recapping where this plan comes from and some of the agreements on the funding side of things is, we didn't turn a blind eye to State Route 53, but in light of the recent Brazelton-Houston area mobility plan that focused solely on State Route 53 and arterial connections in the area, that we did try to take more of a deep dive into the surface level streets as opposed to improvements directly on State Route 53. But to your point, we
That's a
did
fair
account
statement.
for that.
That's a fair statement. I wrote down a couple words here. I wanted to let you know who the stakeholders are, in case you did not know. Jackson County Schools, Jackson County, Jackson County Parks and Rec, Police Department, Fire Department, GDOT. Who am I missing?
Chamber of Commerce.
Chamber was here, yeah. So I feel like we've included all these areas.
Sorry, one more
No,
thing.
please.
And also thank you so much for your work on this. I don't know if you're able to answer, or our team here. I'm a little bit newer to council, so this might be an elementary question.
Don't worry. Don't worry.
But moving forward for the funds and grants, is that something y'all help? Is that something we take to our team to find and then start implementing?
So I would say that we're not contracted to do it under this project.
Okay.
You know, I think that will be a conversation for the city,
Okay.
to figure it out. There are, you know, cities and counties that have in-house assistance with that. There are consultants that do that, so, it won't be part of this project.
Okay.
One more thing that I would also like to add is, I have already spoken to our Georgia State representative. He actually has this plan in hand, and he's the one that goes and gets money from under the dome. And I actually spoke with him again yesterday, and he said he's halfway through the plan. He's looking at that detail right now to find, I mean, we need money, obviously, right? Grant writing, that's, you know, we do depend on the two people over here to my right to look for grants, but they can't see everything. Or maybe they do, I don't know. But good question, though, Maria. Thank you, Alex. That was great. All right. We are going to move on to new business item number 3. This is resolution 2026-14, awarding contract for Barrow County Water Supply Connection, Phase 1. Jerry, would you like to speak to this?
Sure, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Mayor and Council, you, in your continuing water and sewer improvement program, this last project that we bid on, in late April was the connector line from your existing system at, the end of Peachtree Road that would run across and under the Mulberry River over to, Covered Bridge Road and, would follow, Covered Bridge Road for about 300 feet and then cross it and then connect to a meter that Barrow County is under construction with right now. This is a short and long-term water supply with Barrow County. About 2 years ago, negotiated a contract with them. Barrow County has a large allocation of water from the Bear Creek Reservoir and the treatment plant there. Short-term water is 300,000 gallons per day, which this first phase would connect to and provide the city later on this year. The second phase is 2 million gallons a day, which would solve a lot of our long-term water supply needs, and that's a long-term contract with Barrow County. Barrow County let their contract several months ago, and their contractor is moving down with a 12-inch water line from the roundabout to the meter that you'll be connecting to. That contractor is Civil Construction and Utilities. Ironically, our bidder was the low bidder for our project was Civil Construction and Utilities. So it's kind of good to have the same contractor. We won't have any finger pointing there. Therefore, project did come in about 14% under budget, so that was good. Their total bid is $404,400. The next bidder was right at $458,000. We had good participation. We had 6 total bidders on that project. So we always do a due diligent review of the contractor. There are bonding capability, insurance, references. They actually finished a job just in the last few months for you, and we're happy to make a recommendation to award the contract by resolution to Civil Construction. Any questions?
I have one question. Is this a firm fixed price, not to exceed, or time and material?
It's a unit price contract. You do have some built-in unforeseen. Every contract you're bidding right now, you have some unforeseen allowance in there.
Yeah, I saw that in there, and I guess my real question is, if in unforeseen should exceed what they've allotted, who's on the hook for that?
We have not had that issue with any of our contracts heretofore. The other thing we always watch is if we get into rock excavation, worst case scenario, he would have 300 feet of, additional, rock to go through at a price of $15 per foot, so we're covered there. So, answer your question, short answer is I don't see how it could really run over. We have an allowance for unforeseens, and those are approved by you, not just us. It is unit price. I don't see anything in here that would run it over. So, small contract.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question okay?
Yeah, I just, if he expends all the money he has set aside for unforeseen, and we go into 400 feet of rock, I want to know who's on the hook. Are we on the hook for an additional $15 a foot or whatever it is?
You would be.
We would be.
That's during the bore. That 300 feet is in the bore under the river.
Right.
So, I feel confident we'll be well in budget with this one.
Any other questions? Thank you, Jerry. All right, we will move on to item number 4, Resolution 2026-11. This is a GFA loan agreement. Tiffany, are you going to speak to this? Thank you.
Mayor and Council, this is our third GFA loan that we had applied for third quarter last year. I know we've kind of tossed it back and forth. It's been on the table. Do we, accept it? Do we not? We were kind of waiting to see where all the pieces fell. I think when we talked at the retreat and in talking to Jerry and Jennifer, we've decided we're going to accept the grant. We have expensed about as much as the grant is already, so it will be more like a reimbursement to ourselves. This was the grant that had the $1 million loan forgiveness on it, so we definitely don't want to lose the $1 million by letting it go back.
Questions?
What's the amount of the loan that we're,
It's $10 million.
10 million,
10
so
million.
we'll pay back 9 million
Yeah.
plus interest.
That's right, and our plan is, right now is, we haven't made no draws, because when you make draws, you accrue interest. We didn't want to accrue any interest, so we've used city funds, and what the plan is, once we, have expended with the contractor a full 10 million, we'll work with GFA, and they know this is coming. We're going to, draw that money, and then immediately ask them not to put the loan in, amortization, and we're going to pay the loan off. So we'll draw the full 10 and then pay 9 back and be done with it. And that doesn't create any real problems. I mean, other communities doing it. I mean, they want you to have the money. They want you to have the principal forgiveness.
Any other?
I just want to say thank you, for making $1 million for our city and paying no interest. That's the way to use our money. Thank you.
Exactly right. Thank you, Tiffany and Jerry. All right, item number 5, Resolution 2026-12. This is the update to the building permit fee schedule. Tiffany, you want to talk about this?
Yes, and
Okay.
can we combine 5 and 6? Like, can I just talk about them together?
You can.
So both of these are just part of our annual review of all of our fees. These were kind of the last 2 remaining. So in a sense, I got with Rich and Dylan, and we just looked over to make sure pretty much what we're bringing in is covering what we're expensing out. There were some slight changes we had to make sure that is happening, but this should bring us up to where we need to be.
Great. Questions, council? On either? Great. Thank you, Tiffany. All right, item number 7, text amendment TA 2026-01. This is a text amendment amending the subdivision and land development ordinance requirements. Sorry. You gonna speak to this one as well, or
I
are
was
you
gonna
going
address
to?
that one, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
We covered, item 7, item 8, and item 10 in the public hearing. Happy to take any additional questions, but those were covered in the public hearing. Number 9, areas where parking is unlawful, that's TA 2026-03, was not covered in the public hearing. It did not go through planning and zoning because it does not affect land use. I have notes for it, just like I did for the other ones from Rich. Rich says that what this amendment does is add a new subsection making it unlawful to park anywhere a vehicle obstructs the roadway such that emergency vehicles cannot safely pass. He says this change was needed to address narrow street parking issues in growing subdivisions, to ensure fire trucks, ambulances, and police vehicles can access homes quickly, to provide clear enforcement authority for police and code officers, and to close a gap in the previous ordinance, which did not explicitly address emergency vehicle clearance. This ordinance and the need for it was also discussed at our recent council retreat, and I'm happy to try to address any questions as to this ordinance as well as if something has come up in your mind as to the other 3.
If I have a question, this is for the chief. So, how are you going to implement this, or?
What we did was, it was stated in there 16-foot rule, which was kind of, we can't really give the guy a tape measure and have him out there measuring the curve to the side of the car 16 foot. So we decided to take the 16 foot out and put, reasonable for a fire truck. Most fire trucks are about 12 foot wide. So it gave us, in some of these neighborhoods, it gave us more room where you could still park on the street as long as you were 12 inches from the curb or less. So it just really keeps us from having to say, okay, you're 16.1 feet, we got to write you a citation. So we're more going just by looking at a, emergency vehicle and still get by that vehicle, and is it 12 inches or less from the curb, which is written in the ordinance also. So the 12 inches from the curb is already in there, so we're just taking the 16 foot out and putting it as emergency vehicle access. So most fire trucks, ambulances are 12 foot wide or less. So, you know, it really was just an eyeball gauge instead of having to really break out a tape measure and say, sorry, you're 16.1 feet.
So, and that makes sense, you know, and you guys have great judgment, and I appreciate everything they do. And I was just thinking about where you have neighborhoods where people are parking on both sides of the street, and somebody says, well, I was here first, and that guy parked after, so it's on him.
Well, no, most of them receive a citation.
That's good. I'm good with that.
We won't, dictate out on the side of the road whether, Joe parks or Sally parks first. If you're blocking the road, we can't get through the side of the road.
Any other on item, number 9? Okay, as Ab said, we've already gone through 7, 8, and 10. All right, on to excuse me 1 second. Item number 11, Resolution 2026-16. Ab?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Back in 2016, there was a really terrible automobile accident in the city of Milton. A vehicle left the roadway and slammed into a very heavy planter that was in the right-of-way but well off the roadway. That case was tried to a jury, and the jury rendered a verdict against the city of Milton for over $200 million. The jury and the judge found that the city of Milton did not have sovereign immunity for that verdict, which is normally the case. Normally, cities, counties have sovereign immunity unless it's just a truly horrific decision, grossly negligent type decision by the city. Usually, cities are protected up to the limits of their insurance. However, this case, they waived that, thereby exposing the city of Milton to literally go into their general fund and their assets and pay $200+ million. So that case was appealed to the Court of Appeals. I believe the city of Milton felt like it would surely be reversed, but it was not. It was upheld. It's at that point that the city of Milton reached out to other cities throughout the state of Georgia, asked that they sign on as amicus, which is a friend of the court, is kind of what it means. And so other cities approved resolutions and basically pled to the Georgia Supreme Court, listen, this is such a sea change in the law that now how can we budget, how can we protect city assets if we have a jury that gets out there, you know, and renders a really heavy verdict. So the Georgia Supreme Court did reverse the Court of Appeals decision. However, they left one avenue open for a waiver of sovereign immunity. That is as to nuisance, the issue of nuisance. And they sent it back down to the Court of Appeals to look at that issue. The city of Milton has again reached out to cities throughout the state to urge that not be a carved out exception, because the fear is then every plaintiff in a similar situation will allege it was a nuisance. So I recommend that we do sign on in an effort to protect the assets of the city of Houston against, you know, an outlier case like this. I'll say that I have the city of Gainesville, which I also represent, approved this a few weeks ago. Cities all over the state are taking these up and approving them. And so I would urge your positive consideration of this, and happy to answer any questions. I know this is an odd thing, you know, but happy to answer any questions.
All right, having heard none, thank you, Ab. And item number 12, this is a recommendation to fill a seat for planning and zoning. Is there any questions about that? All right, moving on to item 13. This is approval for engineering services for...
Excuse me, Mayor, I'm going to ask.
Oh. Yes, please. Please leave.
Tiffany's going to address it.
I don't. I just don't even have it in anything in my packet.
Okay, Mayor and Council, on this one, so y'all don't have anything in y'all's packet. They're in talking to the Regional Commission. There's not really any supporting document per se. This is part of the, you know, we're trying to get a grant to help with the Barrow County Waterline Project off of Peachtree, and this is part of their grant application process. We had to put out, they call it a bid, but it's for design and qualifications for engineering services. We did receive several back, and staff went through and scored those. And based on like what they had done in other cities or, you know, whatnot, and staff recommendation has is that we would like to go with Engineering Management, Inc. for the project.
Questions? Thank you, Tiffany. And with that, we'll turn it back over to Adam.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is the time. If anyone would like to address the Mayor and Council this evening on any issue, please raise your hand and I'll call you up. All right, sir, if you'll come up to the stand, speak into the microphone clearly, state your name, your address, whether you're a resident of the city of Houston, you'll have up to 5 minutes.
Gotcha. 6 on there. Is it on now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Rodney Cato, 140 Hawthorne Way, Houston. I've had several people, and people I know in the city, ask me about why y'all did not vote for that park that everybody in the city wanted.
and it's been really an issue for a lot of people. And you took $750,000 in the budget out of the people in the city to pay for that park. Now you're not gonna build it. Questions coming up is, when you gonna give back that money back to the people? You took it out away from the little park, and now you're not gonna build a park. Now, I just wanna know when you're gonna give that money back, or where you gonna go throw it away on some other project that nobody wants.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cato. Does anyone else wish to address the mayor and council this evening? If so, please raise your hand. All right, that will conclude citizen input, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And with that, I will make a motion to adjourn the work session. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Scott. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. And with that, we will go I'll go ahead and call to order, call to order the regular session. We'll make a motion for agenda approval. Is there a second? Hello.
I second.
Thank you, Scott. All in favor? That's okay. Motion to approve the agenda, and Scott seconded. Everybody agreed. All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from March 12th, 2026. That would be the work session minutes. All in favor? Good, Tiff? I'd also like to make a motion to approve the minutes from March 12th, 2026, regular council minutes. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Tina. All in favor, raise your hand. And lastly, March 16th and 17th for the 2026, for the council retreat minutes. I didn't make the motion, so is there a motion? Motion to approve. Thank you, Maria. I'll go ahead and second. All in favor? Thank you all. All right, new business, resolution 2026-14. This is awarding the contract for Barrow County Water Supply Connection Phase 1. I would like to make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Ace. All in favor? Oh, before I take that, any comments? I know you weren't here maybe for that, so I want to make sure you don't have any comments. Okay, great. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. I'll go a little slower, too. Good. I'll make a motion to approve the resolution 2026-11. This is the GFA loan agreement. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Dave. All in favor? Great. Thank you. Item number 3, resolution 2026. This is the updated building permit fees schedule. I'm going to do those separately, Tiffany, just so you know. I'd like to make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I second.
Who seconded?
I.
Thank you. Item number 4, resolution. Oh. Sorry. Okay, I'll slow down too. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. Item number 4, resolution 2026-13. This is the updated planning and zoning permit fee schedule. I'd like to make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Dave. All in favor? Good. Okay. Item number 5, text amendment TA-2026-01. This is the text amendment amending the subdivision land and development ordinance, access and design requirements for roads, section 620, residential driveways to amend driveway requirements and for other purposes. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Maria. All in favor? Great. Item number 6, text amendment 2026-02. This is a text amendment amending the signs and advertising devices ordinances, changing section 43-109, lighting restrictions, and for other purposes. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Scott. Is there a second? Thank you, Maria. All in favor? Item number 7, text amendment TA-2026-03, section 11-82, areas where parking is unlawful. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Was that you, Ace?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ace. I'll go ahead and second that. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. Item number 8, text amendment TA-2026-04. This is a text amendment amending the signs and advertising devices, changing section 43-133, application requirements, and for other purposes. Is there a motion? Thank you, Maria. I will second. All in favor? Dave, was your hand up or no?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Item number 9, resolution 2026-16. Authorization, participation in the amicus brief between Chang versus City of Milton.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2026-16.
Thank you, Dave.
I'll second.
Who seconded? Me. Thank you, Ace. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you all. Item number 10, recommendation. I'd like to make a motion to reseat Jeffrey Horny to Planning and Zoning. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Can we have some discussion? Because that was relatively new to me. I have some questions.
Sure.
It says we're filling 2 seats. And what was the planning and zoning recommendation on filling those seats?
At the time, it was, you mean whom?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was Jeffrey Horny and Jason Martin.
And can we discuss why we're going to leave 1 empty seat?
Yes, for now. That is what planning and zoning would like to do.
Okay, so you discussed it with planning and zoning, their second recommendation was to leave 1 of the seats empty.
For now, yes.
Do they have a reason that they're doing that?
Not that I can share at this time.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry, did somebody make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Jeffrey.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, raise your hand. And opposed? Okay. We need to go into executive.
No,
We still have item 11.
Still have 11 now.
Oh, I don't have it on this one either. Okay, sorry. What is 011?
It's approval of engineering services for the ARC grant for the Barrow County Water Connection Project.
Any of mine. Thank you. Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to approve the engineering services for ARC grant for Barrow County Water Connection Project. Is there a second?
And to approve that award to, EMI.
And to approve that award to EMI?
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Dave. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, Ab?
Yes, we do need an executive session for real estate.
Like to make a motion to go into executive. Is there a second?
I'll second that the motion.
Thank you. All in favor? All right. Thank you very much.